What's up? I'm Rides, and on today's episode, we're buying a motorcycle for under $1,000, and we're making some reckless repairs on a second gen. All right, they're not that reckless, but you're hooked. So stay with us, follow along, and come with us to buy a motorcycle for under $1,000. Let's do this. So I kind of got this idea a couple months ago when I started kicking around the idea of buying a bike. Now, mind you, I've ridden motorcycles before. I've owned motorcycles before, but it's been a while. So when I had this idea, I was like, I've seen budget bike challenge. And normally when you hear the term budget bike challenge, it's used in the terms of, oh, I picked up a $1,500 budget bike, or I picked up a $2,000 budget bike. Well, that's fine and dandy. You can pick up a running, riding 90's motorcycle for 1,500 to $2,000 all day, and it runs and it rides. And you can hop on it and you can go right across, right across your own county. But I wanted to answer a question. Can you take a bike that you pick up for $500 that might be running or might not be running and take and make that bike run, ride, and be a street machine for under $1,000? I think it can be done with a little bit of hard work and some simple hand tools and a little bit of knowledge and Google. I'll be honest, and Google. So I was cruising around Facebook and I found this 1992 Kawasaki Vulcan. Now, it is currently non-running, but I talked with the gentleman. I got him talked down to $600. So, $600 for a 1992 Kawasaki Vulcan with a title. That needs a little work. That's a pretty good deal in my book. One of the first things we're going to do before we plan on doing any kind of going to get anything is we're going to do what I call a pre-trip inspection. So, we're going to check oil, coolant, trans fluid, tire pressure, and make sure everything's in working order. Now, that is what I will highly recommend and suggest if you plan on going anywhere to get anything, is do a pre-trip. Now, luckily, I do have a shop at my disposal, so I can do this in a little bit more professional setting. But just because you don't have a lift in a shop doesn't mean you can't do the same. So, let's get to it. So, first thing we're going to do while we're under the hood is we're going to check fluids. So, on this particular truck, I have a coolant reservoir, an oil dipstick, and a transmission fluid dipstick. So, we're going to go in line. We're going to check our coolant, then our oil, then our transmission fluid. So, let's get started. As you can see, I've actually got an open reservoir, and my reservoir is actually fairly full. Now, it should be fairly full because recently I did just put this motor in. This motor did come out of a parts truck, and I did a full coolant service and put a brand new water pump, thermostat housing, and new hoses on it. So that should be good. Now, next, we're going to check our oil. Now, your oil dipstick on most vehicles is going to be an array of places. But in order to read your dipstick, the best way to do it is pull it out once, wipe it off, get it nice and cleaned up, then stick it back in. And if it's my dipstick, it's going to fight the entire time. Stick it back in, pull it back out, and check the level from there. Now, luckily, my oil's looking pretty good. Doesn't look like it's been burning it, but it is pretty nasty. Although I did change it here recently. But the oil level's good. So we're going to move on from oil, and we're going to go to transmission fluid. As the dipstick fights me to go back in. Go in the hole. Aha, got it. Now, transmission fluid, it kind of arrays. In older vehicles, transmission fluid is serviceable and it is changeable. I don't care who says it. I don't care even if a manufacturer says it. Transmission fluid is not a lifetime fluid. So we're going to check ours. Now, I do have a lingering suspicion that mine is kind of low, because this truck does tend to leak a little bit of transmission fluid. But we're going to do it the same process, okay? Now, some vehicles, you are required to put them in neutral, get them up to operating temp, and then check them after they're warm while the vehicle's in neutral. And that's just so that way the pump is engaged. Because in some vehicles, if the vehicle's in park, the pump's not engaged. So, but we're going to check our trans fluid. Aha, see? Second time's the charm. I got the hole that time. Aha. And by the looks of it, our tranny fluid looks good. So that finishes up underneath the hood. Now, obviously, do a quick little look around if you know what you're looking at. And just kind of look around, make sure nothing's loose, make sure nothing looks like it's leaking. That's not supposed to happen. Uno momento. Oops. Anyways, but just kind of take a look around, make sure nothing looks like it's covered in anything, wet, no fluid. Make sure nothing's broke. Check your hoses. That probably should not move that much, but whatever. But underneath the hood looks great. So let's go on to suspension. Now that we're done checking underneath the hood, making sure everything under there is good, fluids are good, make sure nothing's undone, make sure nothing in the engine bay is going to cause us a problem, now we're going to come to checking suspension. So let's get the vehicle up in the air and go from there. Now that we've got the vehicle in the air, we're going to do a quick suspension check. Well, steering and suspension check. So on most vehicles, there are 3 ways to check your suspension to see if you got any loose parts. So the first way is put your hands on the tire at 3 and 9 and shake it from side to side, kind of like you're trying to turn the wheel. Okay, so as you can see, I've got some play. Now, before I go shooting in the dark and say, oh no, I got a tie rod that's loose, hang on, because there's 2 more ways to check. Okay, now I'm going to go to the top and the bottom of the tire, 12 and 6. Okay, and I'm going to shake there. Whoa, I've got some movement there too. Now, some of you are probably going, oh, it's probably ball joints. Well, hang on. There's a third way, okay? So I'm going to go clockwise, or not clockwise. I'm going to go counter. So I'm going to go in between side and top. I'm going to come right here, and I'm going to come right here, and I'm going to check there. But wait a minute. I've got movement all the way around at all 3 corners. Well, that doesn't sound like ball joint. That doesn't sound like tie rod. Now, in order to check, I can reach in here. My tie rods are on the inside right here, okay? So I can move that tire in and out. Well, it's not tie rod. And I just did ball joints less than 10,000 miles ago. So I'm going to speculate to say that I got a wheel bearing this bad. But luckily I already was speculating that because I kind of already felt it. And this truck likes to wear out wheel bearings. Don't know why, but it always has. So we're going to do the rest of the vehicle. Words are hard, okay? We're going to do the rest of the vehicle, and we'll come back and see if we find anything else. All right, so now that we've identified that we have a loose wheel bearing, let's go ahead and get the tire off. Now that we've got all of the lug nuts off, let's go ahead and pull the tire. And while we're in here, while we've got the tire off, we're going to take a peek at our brakes, and our brakes look fairly new because we did just change them not that long ago, as well as with the calipers and everything else. So let's go 1 step further, and let's get a little further into this and get down to the wheel bearing. Hand tools are for cavemen. I'm going into the newer age. Uno momento. All right, now that we're no longer working in the Stone Age, I grabbed an electric ratchet because I don't feel like being here all day. So right now we are taking the caliper bolts loose, which hold the caliper to the bracket, and then we'll pull the caliper bolts loose, or the caliper bracket bolts loose, I should say. So let me do this. Enjoy the montage, well, or sped up version. All right, now that we've got the caliper off, now we can pull the bracket. Now we're down to our wheel bearing, which means taking the caliper off, the caliper bracket, and the rotor off. Now we can get in here and look and see. And this bearing does have quite a bit of play in it. So it does need to be replaced. Now I'm going after the bolts for the wheel bearing. And if you don't know what this is a heat inductor. So I'm not a big fan of using the oxy-accelerating torch or even blow torches or even propane torches for getting stuck bolts to heat up and loosen up. I prefer this way because you can't really melt the head of the bolt off when there's no flame involved. So I highly, highly recommend getting a good heat inductor. These things are a lifesaver. And you can mess less stuff up with it, and they're a little bit more economical. So there's that. Now, in order to use one, they have a pull trigger. They have a little end on them. You take the end, you wrap it around the bolt, press the trigger, hold it until it starts smoking or until it gets red hot, and then there you go. It should break loose. So back at it we go. All right, so after one sweatshirt removal later and an air hammer, the old bearing's off. Now we can take and look, clean up our sealing surface, clean up our mating surface, and then install the new bearing. All right, so now with the new wheel bearing installed, we're going to put the bolts back into the wheel bearing. So there's 3 bolts on the back side of the wheel bearing that feed in from the back. So we're going to take our ratchet, we're going to tighten those up, and then we're going to hit them with a regular torque wrench, and we're going to torque them down to spec. No, we're not. We're just going to torque them down to whatever I feel like is tight and not going to fall off. Because it's my truck, and I'm going to do what I want. Torque wrench. Beep. Beep. Okay. Yep, see, torque wrench. Totally a torque wrench. All right, now with the new hub on and all the bolts torqued, I have my own torque spec. It's called Gutentite. Gutentite. Anyways, so with everything all tightened down, new hub bearing installed, we're going to go ahead and put the brakes back on and then go take it for a test drive. Now, after you're all done and you got your wheel back on, you got everything back together, double check your work, okay? Because there's a chance you could have got a bad part, you could have got a bad, you could have left something loose, so double check it again. Again, you remember what way did it move before you replaced it. So for my instance, it was side to side, up and down, and crossways. So let's check it again. So there's side to side. Nope, that's just me turning the tire. What about up and down? Nope, I got no movement there. I'm rocking the truck. What about corner to corner? Nope, just turn the steering. So I'm going to say that's a fix well done. We're back home now. We ended up, after getting the wheel bearing put in, my significant other and I went to the grocery store, went to the gas station, got drinks, and she made this fantastic Cajun seasoned tater tot casserole. Muy bien. Fantastic. So we're calling it for a night tonight, but we will catch you in the morning when we are getting ready to leave. So stay tuned, keep following along, because tomorrow is the big day. Tomorrow's the day we go get the bike. What's up? It is the next day. So today we are going to go grab a trailer real quick, go grab a bite to eat, probably stop at a gas station, and then we're going to get the bike. To answer the question, can you buy a motorcycle for under $1,000, make it run, make it ride, and make it cool? Well, right there's step one.
I just picked up this 1992 Kawasaki Vulcan for 600 bucks. So, and this is only like an hour away from my house. Like, this was an hour trip. Now, mind you, I will say, I would have rather liked to have a trailer to do this. But, long story short, I will not be using a certain orange and white truck and trailer rental service anymore. Just simply because of the fact that, well, they don't really have their customers in mind. So, would have had a trailer to do this, it would have been a whole lot easier. But because I didn't, what am I can do? Now, I do want to give a shout out to the guy who I bought this from. He was a massive help in getting this into bed. It took a lot of ingenuity, a minor bachelor's degree in geometry, but you got it in here. We're going to travel home. Actually, well, for starters, we're going to travel it to the shop. We're going to get it looked at, get it taken care of. And then we're going to be on to step 2. Make it run, make it ride. All right, we got the bike back to the shop. Don't mind the array of all the other stuff around here. So, there you have it. Can you buy a motorcycle for under $1,000 that actually looks pretty damn good? Like that, I'm sorry, but for $600, this thing's minty. Does it run? No. Can we make it run? Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're gonna do. But that's gonna be for another video. So, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, and keep following along on the 92 Vulcan. I'm Rides, and we'll catch you in the next one.